iron metabolism and the content it includes, because you have seen that the most important part of the hemoglobin was heme, and heme it contains iron. So the iron metabolism is very important in connection with the blood molecule. In this chapter, we'll see the distribution, toxicity, storage, absorption, transport, blood test, physiological factors affecting plasma iron concentration, iron recycling, and loss. In continuation of the previous lectures, after porphyrin, we ended the porphyrin at lecture number 11, and now we start the iron with lecture number 12. Distribution, toxicity, storage, and absorption of iron. Distribution: 50 to 70 millimoles, 3 to 4 grams of iron are distributed among the body compartments. Free iron is toxic. In normal subjects, it is protein count. Number 1, transferrin. Transferrin is iron binding blood plasma glycoprotein. So, iron is bounded to transferrin and it is a glycoprotein. Number 2, iron is stored. Obviously, iron stores are ferritin and hemocyanin. Ferritin is a protein. So, transferrin is a protein and ferritin is also a protein. Ferritin is a protein that contains iron and is the primary form of iron stored inside the cell. 0.1%, that is 3 to 4 milligrams iron is circulating in plasma and the rest is bound to ferritin. So it is a storehouse. यार देखो ये भी आयरन बचाता है, आयरन भी स्टोर होता है. तो स्टोरिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट जो है ना, वो मेरा ख्याल में इन्हीं चीज़ों से हमारी सोसाइटी में आया है. Hemocition. So one form of stored iron is ferritin and the other is hemocition. It is actually the aggregate form of ferritin. यानी जब ferritin aggregate iron store होता है in the form of ferritin, and then the ferritin they aggregate together and they form hemocitin. So ferritin and hemocitin, what are they? They are the storehouse of iron. They stain with potassium ferrocyanide, Persian blue coloration, and therefore called the stainable iron. If there is an iron deficiency, it means a storehouse has been exhausted, and so no stainable iron will be detected in the bone marrow. Then the third form, that is the iron is present in the cellular protein. 70% of the total iron is circulating in erythrocyte as hemoglobin, and this iron is drawn from the bone marrow. 400 milligrams of iron is present in the cellular protein, myoglobin, cytochrome, iron containing enzymes, and they use iron for important processes. Which processes? Storing oxygen by myoglobin, or you can say the myoglobin binding to oxygen. Iron is bounded, then the myoglobin performing energy producing redox reaction by the cytochrome. So the transport of iron by the myoglobin and hemoglobin and performing the oxidation reduction reaction as you have seen in the electron transport chain. Here hemoglobin, right? This is the hemoglobin. Hemoglobin degradation is there. Free iron is released. By the breakdown of hemoglobin, then the free iron is released. This iron goes to the tissues and it is stored as ferritin, and whenever required, ferritin also releases free iron. It is stored as hemosiderin, and hemosiderin, when iron is required, it provides free iron. It is required for heme synthesis, and the enzymes they provide the iron, because you know that enzymes they are not used up in chemical reactions, so they are also the storage form of iron and they provide free iron. Iron is transferred to transferrin, or it is transferred to transferrin, and transferrin it transport iron through plasma, and it is also iron is also excreted, whereas a transferrin it also provides iron to ferritin. Which iron it provides to ferritin? That is the iron absorbed from the small intestine through the diet. The iron which you take through the diet is transferred to transferrin, and transferrin it transfers the free iron and store it in the form of ferritin. Transferrin also provide iron for the hemoglobin synthesis, and the blood loss in the females is 0.7 milligram of iron daily in the menstrual cycle. Hemoglobin degradation, if we see, so the macrophages they convert, uh, degrade hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is converted to biliverdin, and biliverdin is converted into bilirubin, and this bilirubin is excreted. Iron toxicity. Those individuals who cannot regulate absorb, absorption of iron well enough get the disorders of iron overload. That is, those individuals who cannot regulate the absorption of iron, or the absorption of iron is not appropriate, they can get the disorders of iron overload. Iron toxicity results when the amount of circulating iron exceeds the amount of transferrin available to bind it. That is, when iron is in excess amount, it will deposit in the tissues, and the amount is so much that it exceeds the amount of the available transferrin. Transferrin, after bonding with transferrin, the excess amount of iron it is deposited in the tissues, and this result in the iron toxicity. Acute toxicity from iron ingestion occur due to the overconsumption of iron tablets. बगैर डॉक्टर की रिकमेंडेशन के, without the recommendation of doctor, if anyone feel weakness, so most easy job is to take the multivitamins or the iron tablets, and this causes severe mucosal damage in the gastrointestinal tract. That is, the mucosal membrane of the GIT is damaged. Iron entry into the circulation is regulated by hepcidin. What is hepcidin? Hepcidin is a peptide hormone. So always the secretion, the entry of any substance, they are mostly regulated by the hormones. In a similar way, iron entry into the circulation is also regulated by hepcidin. Hepcidin is a peptide hormone. It is produced primarily by the liver and secreted into the circulation. During inflammation, hepcidin level is abnormally high, and therefore iron release from the enterocyte is restricted. Iron storage. Just now I have told you that iron is stored in the form of ferritin and hemocition. These are the proteins which store iron. Now we'll see the detail of these two types of proteins, because in the lecture you will come across often with these terms. So, ratta laga lo, ferritin, transferrin and hemocitin. Ferritin is a protein, major form of iron storage with a storage capacity of about 4,500 iron per protein molecule. Now from this slide, what you perceive, it is a protein, store iron, How much iron? 4500 iron molecules, and you see these three lines. Iron is stored in the form of ferric iron. If the capacity for storage of iron in ferritin is exceeded, a complex of iron with phosphate and hydroxide forms is formed, which is known as hemosiderin. So, in short, what is hemosiderin? Hemosiderin is the collective form of ferritin. Ferritin combined together and they form ferrosiderin. Here you can see the ferritin, and here you can see the iron inside the ferritin. Hemosiderin is an iron storage complex. The breakdown of heme give rise to biliverdin and iron, just like in the diagrammatic presentation I showed you that how the hemoglobin it is converted to biliverdin, biliverdin is converted to bilirubin, and iron is released. The body then traps the released iron and stores it as hemosiderin in the tissues. What is hemosiderin? Is golden brown granular pigment derived from ferritin. Ferritin aggregates जमा होते हैं and hemosiderin is formed. As iron accumulates within the cell, aggregates of ferritin molecules they form hemosiderin. Here you can see the ferritin, and here the ferritin has been aggregated, and this is hemosiderin. Hemosiderin is most commonly found in the macrophages. What a macrophage? Macrophage is a large white blood cell that is an important part of our immune system and has the ability to locate and destroy bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites. So, what is macrophage? It is a large blood cell, white blood cell. Okay? And it is a part of our immune system. And what is the function of macrophage? It has the ability to locate and destroy bacteria, viruses, fungi, and the parasite. You can see the hemosiderin. This purple thing is the hemosiderin. Hemosiderin-laden macrophages. Macrophage originate from the white cells, I have just told you, called the monocyte, which are produced by stem cells in our bone marrow. Monocytes are produced by the stem cells in our bone marrow. Macrophages of the reticuloendothelial system store iron during the process of RBC and hemoglobin breakdown. What is iron homeostasis? What do you understand by the homeostasis? Balance. How much iron is absorbed and how much iron is removed. Ferritin iron can be more easily released than the hemosiderin. जाहिर बात है ये stored form है. Hemosiderin is the stored form of ferritin. Obviously, it is more easy to release iron from the ferritin as compared to जो इसका stored form है इससे release करना मुश्किल. Iron present in the ferritin, transferrin and hemosiderin is in ferric form. Iron can cross the cell membrane in the ferrous form. जैसे lecture will proceed on, we'll see that how it is transported, how the ferric form is converted to the ferrous form, and then the ferrous form is, and then the iron is transported. Liver stores of ferritin are the primary source of reserve iron in the body. Women who have lower total iron body stores, which may consist of 500 milligrams of iron. So what we have learned from this slide, that is iron is transported by transferrin and it is stored in the form of ferritin and hemosiderin. Hemosiderin is a stored form of ferritin. Iron in the transferrin, ferritin, and hemosiderin, it is present in the ferric form, and iron can cross the cell membrane in the ferrous form, right? And also we have seen the distribution of the iron. Systemic iron levels are balanced by controlled absorption, uncontrolled losses. Controlled absorption of dietary iron by enterocyte, the cells that line the interior of the intestine. अब uncontrolled loss में क्या हो गया? Epithelial slowing in the menstrual cycle, sweat, इसको आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते, uncontrolled loss, injuries and blood loss due to other causes. So there is obviously when the blood is lost, RBC is lost, hemoglobin is lost, iron is lost. Iron absorption. Systemic iron regulation. Dietary iron uptake, that is the iron sources or which you are taking in the diet. The amount of iron absorbed as compared to the amount of ingested is low. You take iron more in the diet, but the absorbed is less. It ranges from 5 to 35% depending upon the circumstances. Because you see, certain things in the diet, they inhibit the absorption or decreases the iron absorption. Iron absorption from the diet is enhanced in the presence of vitamin C, whereas is diminished by excess of calcium, zinc, or manganese. Normally, 1 gram of iron is absorbed per day. It may be influenced by the following factors: total iron stores, the extent, that is iron amount in the blood or the plasma or the absorbed. It depends upon the following factors. It is influenced by the following factors. Total iron stores कितने हैं, ठीक है? The extent to which the bone marrow is producing new blood cells, obviously more iron will be absorbed. If the total iron stores are more, less iron will be absorbed. The concentration of the hemoglobin in the blood, if it is low, then more iron will be absorbed. The oxygen content of the blood is low, then more hemoglobin is required and more iron will be absorbed. The body also absorbs less iron during times of inflammation. And it is a natural process, it is a natural phenomenon. And what is the logic behind this? So as to deprive bacteria of iron. Generally, the best absorbed form of iron comes from the animal product. Obviously, good proteins are also from animal product. Good carbohydrates are also from animal products. They are also, the carbohydrates are also from the plant sources. Absorption of dietary iron as iron salt present in supplements varies according to a body need for iron, and it is usually between 10 to 20% of iron intake. Supplements, that is the different type of prepared products which are present. For example, Ensure is present or any other Pedialyte is present. Pediasure is there. So absorption of dietary iron as iron salt varies according to the body need for iron. If more iron is required, more will be absorption. Less iron is required, less will be the absorption. Absorption of iron from animal and plant products is in form of the heme iron, and it ranges from 15 to 30% of the intake. Now, in the next part, we'll continue with the lecture number 13, We'll see the heme iron, iron transport, and what are the transporters.